This week on Maker Update, lights that synchronize with your heartbeat, a $30 synthesizer kit, cardboard pinball, modified Nerf guns, heat shrink, pie shims, and a good fast wood finish. It's Wednesday, May 3rd, I'm Donald Bell, and welcome to another Maker Update. I hope you guys are having a great week. I'm having a good week. I'm getting a little bit nervous though with Maker Faire Bay Area just 3 weeks away. I'm excited though, and the progress on the Hello Kitty car is coming along nicely. And thanks to all the new supporters who've come through and helped raise funds for that car. There's been a nice push this past week, and that feels really great. You've helped me be able to afford a helmet, a professional helmet, which is something I dearly needed. My whole family thanks you for that. We've got a big full show this week, which is great, and I'm going to jump right in, starting with what I am now going to call the advanced project of the week, because as subscriber Angry Monsters pointed out, it's going to help me not have to justify highlighting complicated projects. So this week, I saw Collin Cunningham's video for his Pulse Room project. He basically made it so that the lights in his living room pulse in sync with his own heartbeat. It's a neat idea, though he admits it's a little eerie, but I think you could pitch it as a biofeedback meditation tool, maybe, or I don't know. It's definitely not something you're going to show off on the first date. To pull this off, Collin uses an Adafruit Featherboard and a Music Maker Featherwing that slots in for synchronized playback of a heartbeat audio sample. The Feather takes its pulse signal from a $25 Arduino compatible sensor from World Famous Electronics. And I'm not endorsing it, but for what it's worth, eBay sells what are probably unauthorized knockoffs of this same sensor for $3 shipped. The Feather converts the sensor data into a pulse width modulation signal that the LED strips can read, but because there's so many LEDs to drive, Collin makes up a couple driver boards that use a MOSFET transistor that takes the 3.3 volts from the Feather output and uses it to control the 12 volt power needed for the LED strips. It's a crazy project, I know, but it's also one of those things that I definitely want to experience, and how else am I going to do that unless I go out and build one myself, right? It's also a great introduction to using those pulse sensors and for using MOSFETs for large runs of LEDs. And now for news. From the Create Digital Music blog, I learned about maker extraordinaire Mitch Altman's update to his open source, open hardware Arduino synthesizer kit. The ArduTouch is a $30 kit that results in a small, playable 1-octave synthesizer with a built-in speaker and headphone output. Mitch has been offering the kit at his workshops for years now, but the recent update brings a new code library and tutorials. There's no buy link, but you can get them in person from Mitch, or you can source your own using the material list and the PCB files on GitHub. I also got an email last week from Anul Mahadaria, who's working with the team on creating modular, no solder 8x8 RGB panels called Ultimate by 8. The LED boards just bolt down to a smart little backing board that routes data and power and can just be extended onto to create panels as big as you need. It looks like a neat system. It works with Arduino and Feather and Raspberry Pi. $100 gets you a 3-panel kit. If you're interested, I have a link to their crowd supply page in the show notes. I also got a nice surprise from the Cardboard Tech Institute. They make a cardboard pinball machine kit that I love called the Pinbox 3000. I reviewed it a year ago for Make, which was a blast. They sent me their new and improved version here. It sells for $50. It comes with 2 interchangeable playfields and assembles in about an hour. They also sent me a link to a video they made highlighting some cool hacks and experiments with 3D printed obstacles and magnetic switches. I love pinball, so I can't help but plug this thing. You can check them out at pinbox3000.com. Alright, now for a few other projects to highlight from this past week. Over on Adafruit, I caught this new guide for adding LED effects to Nerf guns using a $7 trinket board and NeoPixels. The guide is full of outstanding photos, and the included code is commented well. If you're looking for a summer project that will hook your kid, this looks perfect. I also found this cool 3D printed Pokemon planter by Augustin Flowalistik. Beyond just looking cool, the video tutorial does a great job of introducing you to fundamental concepts of modeling 3D designs in Fusion 360. So even if you don't have a 3D printer, I recommend this video as just a great 7-minute window into 3D modeling. And through the Adafruit blog, I found this handy tip from YouTuber leefiles on creating the cheapest, thinnest case imaginable for the Raspberry Pi Zero. The secret is a section of 1.5 inch wide heat shrink tubing. He shrinks it on, then cuts away whatever openings he needs. There you go. It's brilliant and leads me to my weekly tool review. Heat shrink. That's right. For this week's 1-minute tool review brought to you by the Cool Tools blog at cool-tools.org, I'm going to talk to you about this assortment of color-coded heat shrink tubing I found for just under $6 on Amazon. Of all the things I have in my electronics toolbox, nothing gets my kid more excited than seeing me use heat shrink. The stuff is honestly magic. Plus, there's usually fire involved, so bonus. If you're unfamiliar, these are plastic tubes that you slip over connections that shrink tight when heat is applied. It's a pro way to keep wires and components from shorting into each other. It's a real lifesaver when you're splicing two wires together and you want that splice to be sealed up like the rest of the wire. You just cut the length you need, slip it on before you solder, and then heat it in place when you're done, either with a heat gun, a mini butane torch, or even a lighter or soldering iron if you're in a pinch. Heat shrink is one of those tools I totally take for granted until I show it to someone who's never seen it before, and it blows their mind. This 200-piece multi-pack is a great introduction, though it doesn't include the really fat 1.5 inch tubes needed for that Pi enclosure. It works on an Adafruit trinket though, and for basic wiring, you really can't beat the price. I pay that much just for the case it comes in. By using the Amazon link in the show notes, you help to support this show and the Cool Tools blog and the Cool Tools podcast. You can find them at cool-tools.org. Time now for a few extra tips and tools that I found this week. The first is this Raspberry Pi OnOff Shim from PiMoroni. This tiny $8 board slips onto any Pi, and you install a little script that recognizes the button, and you have an easy way to safely boot and shut down your Pi. I also enjoyed this video from David Picciuto from Make Something, showing off his new favorite wood finish. It's a method of applying basic shellac, but thinning it along the way with each successive coat. David knows his stuff. I used his previous favorite finish on my dining room table, which was a combo of wipe-on polyurethane and boiled linseed oil. That finish took a couple days of work, but the new finish can be perfected in hours. Maker fairs! A bunch more maker fairs this weekend. We've got Canton, Ohio, Newark, New Jersey, Chicago, Northside, Athens, Greece, and Hampton, Virginia. So go find some fellow makers and get inspired. Before I wrap up this week's show, I wanted to give a direct thanks to everyone who has publicly contributed to my Power Wheels Racer for Maker Faire. These awesome people include Mary DeGrazia, John Ike, Clay Cooper, Theron Throwbridge, Scott Kelsey, Spike X, Gregory Buchholz, Ori Kalair, Curtis Bullock, Matt Humphrey, Grant Johnston, Elena Hernandez, Stephen Hawthorne, and Grant Schellen. Thank you. And if you want your name read off on next week's show, the last week of the campaign, just give me a public contribution of any amount and I'll read your name on next week's show. Easy peasy. At $25 though, you'll get stickers. These just came in today and I can't wait to plaster them on everything I own. A donation link is in the show notes and at the end of this video. Alright, and that's it for this week's show. I hope you guys have a great week. And if you're not subscribed, you should subscribe to this channel. That would be great. And if you guys have a tool recommendation that you think I should feature on another episode, a cool tool recommendation, then let me know either in the comments for this video or you can email me at donald@makerprojectlab.com. All right? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week.